number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
Yeah, trendsetter, whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center, hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, there's no misses. Something like fish in a barrel, it's no different. Blindfold on me, I still got the most vision. Trendsetter told them before, but they don't listen. Better, bring a better bad because I'm bigger, better. Solo single, selling several shows at every single second. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Kinda came and crushed the competition, hope they get the message. Look, living it fast, spinning my M in the bag. I never go slow, thinking I'll crash. End up a thing in the past, they know I won't though. Big fish catching me, they gon' need a bigger boat. Ironic how the world stops when I spin a globe. Always showing up. Last year's song still holding up. See the name now and they know what's up. Price hit the top and it's going up. I'm a trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center. Yeah, trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center.
B.O.D. Get the spell check, a fact check, and prevent errors going up. See the bent lever, jalapeno hot, y'all just red peppers. All y'all copy copies, but I'm left center. And your shorty glitching on me like a text center. Hit it with a French tenor. Crazy wait until I do the next record. I leave head severed. I don't need to hit the bench ever. But if I do, I'm PRing to the next level. Condo flights to Lufthansa. Already know who you people fans of. Call me Big Daddy in a big body Wrangler. Call me Big Daddy Adam Sandler. Bullseye, aiming for a cottage with a poolside, full size.
Always showing up. Last year's song still holding up. See the name now and they know what's up. Price hit the top and it's going up. I'm a trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center.
Studio One, nestled in the heart of Calgary. Welcome to Aaron Gibson's Soul Man Live. Bringing you that moment of joy in your day to ignite your inner phoenix and fly. Today's featured guests, you. And now it's time to put your Hulk hearts up and welcome your big burly hug host, Aaron Gibson.
Well, good evening, you epic souls out there. Great to have you here. And of course, we've got an amazing night lined up and a very important epidemic that we really need to start tackling and bring to the table and start talking about. So, of course, you can see I've got our special guest speaker here this evening, our panel speaker, Dylan Gibson, my son, for the first time on Soul Man Live, to give his insights and perspectives into cyberbullying. We're going to get to that just a little bit later, but he is literally going to be helping me work the controls this evening. And of course, we've got some major topics to get through. Of course, big shout out to everybody out there that's been joining. Shout out to Leslie Flowers and her lovely lives and her lovely voice. I cannot get enough of you, my lady. Thank you so much for all that you are doing and inspiring, and your wisdom is just priceless. Thank you for that. Thank you to all of you. This week, I was blessed to actually get a visit from my very own Donald Baker and Sam, and they brought me a little gift, and this gift happened to be a shout out to Mechanical Business Magazine. And coincidentally enough, on page 14, apparently this is what's going on. Apparently it's people in the news, and I think I made it. So I'm still a little bit in shock about this, but just humbled and honored that that's a first for me. Thank you, and again, just much appreciation to Mechanical Business. It's a new endeavor I've never experienced, and I'm still again trying to process through it. So tonight we're talking about cyberbullying, and in its essence, words. Words literally have the power to inspire and crush a person. Words can help save them in that pinnacle moment when they need to be reaching out. And, words can be communicated in a whole bunch of different variations and ways. And it's all about the approach and how you clarify things, asking the questions about things of what did you mean? How did you mean this? Spending that time executing that extra little bit of patience. So I received a message from Crystal Bay about I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she indicated that there is an issue with cyberbullying going on, and I could tell right away with the way that she wrote the message that there was an urgency behind this. And for me, bullying has been part of my upbringing, and even my son has gone through his own experiences bullying. We've all gone through a form, shape that molds us into the people that we become. And sometimes it's hard to come back from those places when you've been driven that far into the ground. So with that being said, I'm very blessed here on this show, and to put some clarity out there, and big time shout out to Joshua Lee and his audio last night. I popped in. Groovy cat, love his show, and his sense of humor is absolutely one of a kind, and I just highly encourage you catch it. However, it was time to reflect on those that have built in my circle and are valued, cherished people and souls in my circle. And I actually wrote something to them a little while ago, that it just, people come together for the right reasons, and each soul that I have working the production on this show, fully candid, all of the videos that you see on the show are done by me on my phone. However, to run this show, I like to have full focus on our special guests. How can that be accomplished? Well, I have been gifted with an amazing team. Each one of them presents a facet, and I wrote a little something to them that I'd like to share with you all this evening. One cannot reach out without first finding themselves and their voice through Voice Your Vibe. You cannot maintain this without giving value and honoring your feelings by radiating real. And lastly, we need to continually learn from our experiences when things are never in control. I've been blessed with an amazing team. I have Ryan Schulman, Nancy Deborah Barrows, and our sponsor of the show, the gifted bipolar writer, Nick, all working production so that I can focus on you when you're on this show. They're the ones working the comments. They're the ones working the camera angles. I have a very small portion when it comes to the actual production of the show, except for on certain occasions like tonight, where I said that basically they could go off the controls, but everybody's just volunteering, being themselves. And I just want to say that I love my family and I appreciate each one of you. And through each one of our sharings over the years that we've gotten to know one another, each of you I know carries a facet of bullying. And so when this was presented to me from Crystal Bay, I had the most amazing panel to really reach out and take our first positive movement towards ending cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, it only doesn't affect adolescents, it affects us in old age as well. As a content creator, you are faced with some adversities of not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody agrees with me. And for me, I respect that. That's just you. You're allowed to be you. We can't evolve if we don't have disagreements. Other than that, we stay at the same place. And this is how we start to grow with one another. And again, that delivery is what is crucial to us all. Spending those few moments before responding emotionally to actually take a moment to reflect on what was said, do a self-reflection, and then respond. So with that being said, let's bring our panel up. And of course, we're gentlemen around here, so we always do ladies first. And of course, these are also my sisters, fellow Phoenixes that have all been on my show and they are all warriors. So first, let us bring on the inspiration for the show this evening. Crystal Bay, please welcome to the panel.
Well, thank you. And Dylan, I love your hair. I have done that exact color. You are definitely your father's son, and I love it. You look amazing. I just had to say that. So mad props for the bravery of the purple hair. It looks awesome.
Actually, that's the light. He doesn't have purple hair.
What color is it?
The purple soul man is what's giving him the. Hey, sorry, no,
is
yeah,
that really? It
color.
really, but it looks
yeah,
really cool. So you should do that. You definitely should do that like with the colors, because it really does. It looks awesome.
That being said, Dad was cherry Coke during high school, so I can he's totally cool to do that if he wants.
But thank you for bringing me on. Unfortunately, Casey, who is going to be my special guest, we had thought it was food poisoning over the weekend, and I messaged him yesterday to remind him of the event, because I knew he had been sick, and he told me, unfortunately, he was admitted to the hospital because obviously it wasn't food poisoning, it was lingering on, and he's been admitted to the hospital, so he could not be here with us, but he is here in spirit. Absolutely. I do know his 100%. Share that he wanted to give to the panel to explain why the anti-cyberbullying campaign had been started, so I can share in his stead. Well,
what we're going to do is we're going to pull everybody up here on the panel.
But and I just wanted to put out why Casey was not here with us.
No worries. We fly by the seat of our pants here. It's Jurassic Park. We let the dinosaurs run wild.
Always. This is my third official appearance besides the Halloween one, so technically fourth.
Yes, true. But you're a fellow Phoenix, and again, when you brought this up to me, it was a no-brainer. And with the team that I have, we are ready to head to the front lines of cyberbullying and really crack this open to help those out there silently struggling. Without further delay, let's bring on my sister, dear, who is my first remote live stream producer, who has now migrated into my executive producer, Nancy Deborah Barrows. Please welcome to the stage.
Hey everyone, I'm so glad we're doing this tonight. What an important topic to take on. Continued prayers for Casey, Crystal. And I have to say, I love seeing the Gibson boys together, and I think Dylan might have to be a regular, or you guys have to start your own father-son show or something. And I agree with Crystal. I think a little purple in the hair would look awesome. Now, you're talking to someone who has like 5 different colors in her hair, so yeah. My own opinion.
That's epic, and I love it. As soon as you sent me the pictures of those when you first did, I was like, yes, this is Nancy. This is Nancy.
Well, I made myself into the unicorn that I am.
You are that, definitely, without question. So we're gonna get through the rest of the panel here. Then we're gonna go through each of you again. We're flying by the seat of our pants on this one, and we're just gonna do a round rover once we get the questions flying. And once we mention flying, that usually means a little bit of craziness and a little bit of chaos, which is literally the balance in my life, which is my other new acquired sister. Please welcome to the panel, Nicole and Guy Galindo.
Hi, guys, gals. Oh my goodness.
Lipstick. I gotta find my lipstick.
Oh my God. That's so funny. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw some lipstick on, throw on the glasses, hide the tiredness going on here tonight. But I wouldn't miss this for the world. Not that I ever miss any of the shows, but this topic is one of those. And Dylan, we are all blessed that you're joining us tonight. You're like a little mini Aaron.
Mini me. You complete me. Hashtag Austin Powers. Our last panelist, a warrior himself and no stranger to the adversities of bullying and the torment and the anguish that can go through that bullying and can go back to that place. My brother, and your DJ Red Panda to all of you, my brother Brian Shillman. Please welcome to the stage. Here he is.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing? Look at that smile.
Hold tight while I try a different layout. Don't get scared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girls on top, boys on bottom. Gotta love it.
Okay, we got to keep it PG though. Like, we don't want HR involved.
Hey, you went there
until you said something.
Okay. No, that was a joke. It was. Again, I like to add a little humor because we're going to be diving into some very serious discussions this evening. And what I'm going to do first is obviously, again, we're going to complete the round robin. First, what we're going to do is, Crystal, please tell us a little bit about Casey's story and how this basically inspired this show to start taking that challenge to the front lines.
Well, what started it all was he is a YouTuber, and so are a few of our other friends. I know, Jody, I wasn't going there. Aaron went there. Sorry. And there is another YouTuber who had, I guess, a crush or something on a different one and decided that since that particular YouTuber didn't want to give her any time of day, that she was going to start attacking Casey and Brennan and anybody that associated with them, to the point of harassment to where Casey actually has a restraining order against her. Yeah. That like literally was made permanent as of last week. And this woman is now even trying to attack me through YouTube, posting my channel because I am friends with them. She attacked a very, very good friend of mine. In fact, his picture is on the mental health break that you had made for me, Aaron. My junior high prom picture that is on there, trying to make him out like he is a child like molester or something along those lines. And far from the truth, she attacks people and has no basis for her attacks. There's no truth in anything that she says. I have done a lot of research into this particular person just because I believe in having both sides of the story before making my own judgment, you know?
Well, and we know that there's the truth.
Yeah.
Or their version of the
your
truth,
side,
the
her side, and in the
between,
middle.
right?
But honestly, there is no in the middle with this one.
Mm-hmm.
This woman has literally attacked and attacked and attacked, and is even making a mockery of the justice system here in America, stating, streaming her Zoom court hearing while she was in it about the restraining order, still streaming, posting their names, everything, even though there's flat out a restraining order for it.
Okay.
Now,
so this is where I'm going to hold you up, Crystal, because this is, again, these are the facets that we want to dig into. Okay, so for our panel here this evening, and we'll go to Nancy to first express her feelings on it. What's your first initial response to hearing this information, and what are the feelings that are brought to the surface when you hear this?
Well, being an empath, it physically hurts when I hear stories like this. And there's a part of me that's incredulous. Like, why would anyone do this to anyone else? Like, what do you gain from this? And why are we so cruel to each other? And why do we feel we have the right to attack anyone for who they are, what they're doing, rather than support one another? We're each unique. We're all out there living life and being human. What do you not have in your life that you feel the need to go after someone? It's be you unapologetically, and we gotta stop bullies in their track. But part of that is by us standing up to them, and also the system not covering it up. I work in the schools. I see it every day. I'm in a middle school, and the zero bullying policy, it's supposed to be zero tolerance. I don't see it enforced. And so be you unapologetically. And the other thing that came to mind, and I put it in the comments, is it's not that you're too much. It's that they're not enough. And before we went live, I said to Dylan, I'm like, I want you to speak confidently, because you are an expert on you. You are an expert on your experiences. You are an expert on your perspective. You're an expert. You belong here, and your voice matters as much as everyone here. And that's the thought that comes to mind, is why. The thing is, I do know. I know it's insecurity. I know it's what people are lacking. It's what people, negative attention is attention. Whatever, there's a million reasons it's happening. For someone who believes in humanity and kindness and graciousness and assuming the best, it's really just something I almost can't wrap my head around, that someone would do this. But I know it's happening, and I am happy to have been invited to tonight's show to be speaking about it, because that's the first step.
Absolutely. So moving on to Nicole. Nicole, when you hear Crystal's story here, what was your first initial kind of emotional response to that? Did you have fight, flight, or freeze?
I have to say, for me, it was a little bit of shock. I'm like Miss Naive over here. I hear the word bullying, remove cyber, and I think of what my son went through while he was at school, or what I went through while I was at school. And that's as far as I think bullying. But then you put the word cyber in there, and you ask yourself, well, what exactly is that? I mean, we're on a LinkedIn platform. I'm not on very many other social media platforms. And you will always come across that person that's just, You know, they really don't know how to express themselves properly. But usually people are mature enough to be able to handle themselves and or just walk away or block or, you know, just move that person out of their life. But when I listened to Crystal's story, and you know, she was on last Sunday on Nick Never in Control and spoke a little bit about this. And the thing is, the persistence of this person is just like, wow. There's so many other things you could chase down. Like, what has become, this person has become like obsessed, really, in a really scary way. You know, it's at that point not just slander and damaging someone's reputation, but mentally you are breaking that person and the people around them. Like you're going after them and breaking them down mentally. It's terrible. And these are adults, so I could just imagine, you know, Dylan's age, for example. How do they even begin to defend and protect themselves? You know, we as adults, we know a little bit more. So it's a topic. Yeah, my goosebumps are up. That's how this makes me feel.
Thank you, Nick. And it's absolutely scary, because the statistics, when I started exploring, researching, you know, what it's like right now. And I mean, I remember my own bouts of bullying, and I know I've stayed in touch, you know, throughout the in-between time of Dylan not being around and to the time of Dylan being around, that it's much crueler out there and it's much more harsh. Some of the statistics I was reading, 25% now here in Canada have faced cyberbullying. And again, as Nicole said, again, the key word here is bullying. So for my brother Brian Schulman, because I mean, you have, out of the scheme of bullying, you didn't have any control out of how these people approached you. And in this technical era, what do you see happening from your perspective on how things have evolved in bullying from your point to now?
Yeah, I think I'm grateful that technology was not what it was when I was a kid, because I think it would have been a whole lot worse. You know, I grew up with a neurological disorder, Tourette syndrome. I got teased and bullied, and it was a daily thing. And yeah. Thank you for all of your comments, by the way, and all your sharing. Please keep sharing. Yeah, you know, I think you know, when you're different, you're looked at different. You're weird. You're not normal. You're, you know, and the reality is, when it comes to bullying in general, it's 9.5 times out of 10, it's got nothing to do with you. The bully has got all sorts of baggage and all sorts of problems and all sorts of angst and anger and fear, and there's all of these things that are happening. And there was a comment earlier that I agreed with, that Nancy Dever put up, that was, you know, I have some empathy for bullies, but not room to accept or excuse their behavior. And you know, what I will say on the flip side of the negative, because you know, we're always trying to look at things from a positive perspective here, is from a cyber point of view. And by the way, it doesn't matter what platform it is. This happens on LinkedIn. There are coups of people that target people. I mean, there's cyberbullying.
KDJ.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Downer Jr., God love the guy. You know, he's the sweetest man in the universe. Would never hurt a fly, And the guy has got kicked off LinkedIn more times than you can even, like, I can't, I mean, I've been on LinkedIn every day for 20 years and I've never seen anything like this happen. And it's all because somebody doesn't like him. You know, he's a threat to them because he's a good human being. Anyway, so I guess the point that I wanted to make was, you know, looking at things from both perspective is that, you know, you will see cyberbullying happening online, and you will see tribes of people, communities coming out to support, coming out to stick up, coming out to say no, and silencing those bullies. Now, it's taken people to share, talk about, post, speak up, voice their vibe, radiate real about all the things that are happening that these platforms are, and I said platforms as a whole, you know, are not standing up, talking about, providing more protection around, giving you easy ways to call these things out, to ring a siren or a bell and go, this is wrong. You need to be aware of it. You need to take action and do something about it. You know, first offense, second offense, multiple times. You know, and that's something that I think from a technology perspective, from an organizational perspective, that the more companies are aware of, more importantly, take action on, provide communities the ability to, the better we are going to be. There's no perfect system. And you know, it's pretty ridiculous that you have to shout from the rooftops all the way up the top to get someone's attention about something that should not even be happening. You know, but I look at Dylan, you know, and I sit here and go, it is so easy. It is so easy for like an immediate just bashing for no reason other than it can happen because they can do it. So, you know, again, circling back to Aaron, what you said, I mean, yes, I dealt with a lot of bullying growing up. I was weird and different, didn't know it, couldn't control it. And, you know, it became a superpower of mine later in life, but it took a long time to get to that place and to look at things that way. But I really loved something, and Nancy shared it earlier, that Nancy had said to Dylan right before we went live. And that's why I love this woman, because it's, you know, I think if there were more people in this world speaking good, if there were more people in this world letting people know how impactful they are, how important they are, how special they are, you know, it changes a lot. And I will tell you, I believe there is a whole lot more good than there is negative in the world. The problem is that we don't see and hear enough of that. And one cut goes really deep, you know, and it can drown out 1,000 positives, you know, one cyberbully action, you know, and it's a hard thing, right? You don't want to give power to those people. You know, it's like trolls, you know, it's just never about you. You just happen to be your path when it happens, but it's also purposeful at times. And I think it's understanding that it's real, it happens, and understanding how to deal with that. Right? I mean like how to deal with that both digitally, how to deal with that internally, so that it doesn't consume you, because it can consume you and it can take you to dark places, you know, but it doesn't have to. And I think when those things happen, And Dylan, I'm sure if anything like that happened to you, you'd be telling your dad the day that it happened, because you guys have this incredible relationship and you have this open communication, and God love the two of you, because it's such an important thing. You guys have this something very, very special. And it's so important that our kids know that they can have these conversations, and not just that they can have these conversations and it's a safe and a brave space, as Nancy Debra would say, to be able to do that, but that it's important to do that. And there's nothing wrong with having those conversations. It's important to talk about that stuff, because you can share how you're feeling. Because when you start to box all those things in, they just get more and more compacted and deeper and lower. And you don't even see them anymore. And they're just festering down there. And that's just it's not healthy, but it's real and it happens. So today is a perfect example of helping people understand that these conversations are important, that we need to have more of these conversations. And shout out to all the people and all the organizations that come together to bring more of this to light, so that we can have these conversations, and that it's not just adults, it's people of all ages, because it doesn't matter whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult, right? Cyberbullying happens to everybody.
And one of the scary statistics that I was reviewing this week, because of course I've got to ask my son some questions this week, and some of the statistics I read were absolutely, it was shocking. When they did a study on the bullies that had been discovered, they did a poll, and 37%, their response was they thought it was funny. They didn't think that there was going to be any harm from it. They thought it was funny. And I feel that in my heart that this is a much scarier age. For when we were growing up, it was face to face. We could go home at the end of the day. Now we have these phones literally around us all day. And a funny little story that Dylan and I first shared, which, I mean, Brian, you hit it right on the nail on the head. And so did Nancy earlier by expressing to Dylan that you are an expert this evening. The first time that Dylan got technology, he was very young. It was the age of 3. I was not, as a parent, I didn't feel that was an appropriate time or age for him to have that. However, this was part of the time and age that we're growing up in. And it was, again, a source of entertainment and education. We made sure, as my co-parent, we worked to use it as education and, of course, frivolous fun. But it was never a babysitter. And the one story that I'm going to share, which, and I hope he's going to giggle from this, because it was his first real scare with Dad. And part of this, yeah, it's okay. You can breathe.
I remember this one.
As a parent, you have to this is our job, to give them the best opportunities when you're not around. When you've moved on, or they have moved on to pursue their life, you want to make sure that they have the best tools available. And so one of the things that I happened upon was I had actually attended a cyberbullying seminar. It is a scary statistic out there that, and for those that need to be aware, it is now a chargeable offense by law, and you can go to jail for it. And minors can as well be held accountable until the age of 18, and then potentially face prison time for a committed action if it results in somebody committing suicide. They have the right to seize your phones. They have the right to seize everything that is digital off of you and explore that. And so, hearing all of this and taking that course, my first thing to do was to go home and investigate my son's tablet. Totally. I'm so glad to see you smile, because he was not smiling at the moment.
I was like,
he was terrified. I asked to see his tablet. Why? Because I need to look through it, little buddy. I need to see what you're looking at, and just making sure that everything's okay. No. And he tried to hold the tablet back from me, which, of course, as parents, is a first red flag to go, okay, obvious physical change in behavior, right? So I take this, and of course, that was also a moment of terror and panic for me. What am I going to see? What am I going to hear? Well, I was quite, and it took a lot. I had to keep a stern, not a stern face or an angry face, but a straight face, and was happy to discover that it was just my son exploring the many multitudes and facets of foul language, and nothing but a bullshit and asshole was delivered in said message, and he was terrified. And it wasn't more of what he had done, it was the consequence, and understanding that there is consequences to those actions. So that began the periodical check, which is, I mean, us as parents, we need to stay on top of these things. And the scary thing with cyberbullying is, again, they don't need to be up in front of your face. They can literally send a message in the middle of the night. Now, for you, my boy, because we have experienced this, and you have done the right thing, and you've reached out to me and talked to me about it when you were ready and comfortable to talk about it. So the first time that you were cyberbullied, how did it make you feel?
Not really good. I mean, it hurt a bit.
And so what did they say to you that really kind of stung your soul?
Like the real?
Yeah.
So I was playing a game like a couple years ago, and basically I beat him in the game, and then he just told me to put a gun in the middle of my head and pull the trigger. I'm not really hurt. I mean, it should hurt, but
Did it feel fair?
no, not really.
And what happened after you told us about that? What happened?
Nothing really, because you can't just like find them right on the game. But it they could just leave the game without you being able to report them.
But what did we tell you as co-parents? What did we tell you when that happened?
They're insecure about themselves.
Mm-hmm. And that you are cherished, loved, and valued, and very important, which is not an easy conversation for somebody that's trying to blend in at that age. We all have that peer pressure. We all have those influences that we're surrounded by. These are the games we're playing. If we want to hang out with our friends, we've got to play these games. So back to you, Crystal, now that we've explored a little bit of Dylan's experience. Yeah, okay, water time. Oh, coffee better yet. Coffee, hook it up to my veins.
Coffee time.
Talking about Dylan's experience, my son's going to be 16 this weekend. Happy birthday, John. But he has recently allowed me to join his Thrive or whatever, like stream when he games online. And one night when we were in there, he was playing a jump scare game. I don't remember exactly which game it was, but there was a couple of kids in the room that were just really being a-holes. And I won't lie, and he put it out there that I was his mom, so these kids knew I was his mom. And I won't lie, I put the kids in their place. I was like, listen, either keep this PG or get out. And all of his other friends are like, hey, your mom should be your moderator, because they were being inappropriate. They weren't saying anything like that. They just were being verging on X-rated, like with their comments. But in a sense, it's still a form of cyberbullying. And I had also coached a young girl who had some people at school saying the same things that one person in the game had said to you. And we reached out to the school, everything, and they did nothing. We wound up bringing her home and having her homeschooled because the school wouldn't do anything. But I'm so sorry that you went through that. And like, if you had the opportunity to block that particular gamer, I hope you did, you know, because you can sometimes block them. But the bad thing about blocking accounts is a lot of times they just make new ones. That was one of the things that the particular person that is with Casey goes by C Fowles on YouTube. Okay. And she has made no less than 9 different YouTube channels because every time her channel gets reported and flagged, she makes a new one just to keep going. And it's like, hasn't this woman who's 50 something years old ever heard of the phrase, you attract more flies with honey than vinegar? Why not try to be friends with everybody instead of attacking and trying to break down livelihoods, everything the way she does, you know? Like Nancy was saying, it's like, why attack? Why not just try and, you know, be friendly? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm with you, Nancy. It doesn't compute with me, you know, the whole thing. And I personally went through cyberbullying with my ex. It was on a different, you know, way. It was basically revenge porn. Sorry, Dylan, I don't mean to bring that up in front of you, and that's where I'm going to leave it. You know, but that was the type of cyberbullying that I went through. Was that, and he would post my address, phone number, everything on his Facebook, trying to get people to attack me and things like that. You know, so cyberbullying affects all ages, all demographics, whether it's personal, like somebody that physically knows you, or somebody halfway across the world. Like the woman that's attacking C Fowles and now me and everything, you know, she lives clear across the country, never met any of us, but has made it like her personal vendetta to shut down all of our pages. And it's like, why? What have we done to you?
And
nothing, you know, just
regrettably, Crystal, that there's just, unfortunately, and Leslie Flowers worded it best, I think, this weekend on Nicole's show, Never in Control, that some of the world hasn't come into that perspective view yet. And moving a perspective view on something, again, we were not as exposed to. Again, we didn't have this technology around when we were growing up. So how do we start to approach it other than, I mean, yeah, monitoring takes a lot of time. And you don't want to really be imposing on your child's time because they're supposed, you know, that's their kid time, right? Every kid deserves their kid time, the time to just be a kid. And you know what, there's going to be enough of their years later on to be an adult and learn all the things that adults need to learn. So that's kind of where I wanted to go for the next round here is for each of you. Crystal, you can kick this off. What were some of the things after you had received your bullying? What were the things that you utilized to help create your self-worth and start to recognize that you cannot give power into these words and start to believe that you are who you are and embrace and giving value to your feelings? And again, learning to voice yourself so that you can voice your vibe, as well as learning from that Never in Control. So there you go. There's the loaded question.
Honestly, you guys helped a lot with getting my, you know, my self-esteem and everything, between Nick having me on her show first and while being on Nick's show, you inviting me, you know, helping get my voice, being surrounded by people who actually believe in me. Matt, I talk about him all the time. You know, Matt was a huge help, especially when it came to the cyberbullying. But that phrase on my board right behind me, I am perfect in my imperfect self, reminding myself of that I am perfect in all of my silly imperfections and quirks, you know, that helps. And realizing, you know, he has no when it came to my personal cyberbullying, he has no power over me. even the people that he kept, trying to get to join in on him were all like, she left you, get over it. She's moved on, get a life. And when it comes to the whole C Fowles thing and everything, her blasting my channel on hers, all I can think is in this one, cool. I'm just starting out with my channel anyway. Cool. Get more people to check out my channel. That doesn't hurt me in any way because they're going to see what I'm about. They're going to see the real who I am and realize that I'm not this evil person that you're trying to paint me out to be. You're going to, I'm a voice for domestic violence. I'm a voice, for uplifting yourself and believing in yourself for so many good things that all she's doing is making a fool out of herself. It's not worth my time. But honestly, you guys really helped in shaping that for me, helping me realize that, yeah, I have a voice and it needs to be heard.
Creating that circle. Nicole from Trinidad, you must have a wealth of stories.
Yes, I would say as in a different culture, this all looks very different. But I will say, so my son, when he was about 8, experienced something, I think it was around the time of 9/11. And I had someone picking him up from the bus stop at that time because I was working. And she would tell me that every single day he would get off the bus and he was crying like crazy. I found out that the neighbor who he played with was calling him a terrorist because his father is mixed, Black, Spanish, French, right? Mom's mixed up to Chinese, Scottish, whatever. And he's, all brown. He's got his little curly hair. He's got his little, and he was calling the kid a terrorist. And he was crying every day. Well, I took my kid and I marched down to their house and I knocked on the door. I said, hey, it's me, Nikolai's mom. We wave at each other and the boys, they ride around together outside. I'm not really sure what's going on, but your son's kind of been calling my son a terrorist on the school bus. And everybody's laughing and he gets off and he's crying. So you know what that father said to me? Kids will be kids. That's what they do. So let me start backtracking. Chances are the people that are bullies cyber-wise are bullies in real life. And chances are they started way before they're adults. And then teenagers, and then go down the line. Because that behavior was acceptable in their household. So they themselves don't do any different. They weren't raised differently. They weren't raised to think that they were doing anything wrong. So now here comes this little boy who's growing up that thinks it's perfectly okay to say the things that he's saying. And this is not here you're fat. Not that that's acceptable either. But, that's where those types of things turns in now to racial uproar. People burning things on people's front lawns. And now it gets crazy. So, it has to start nipped somewhere. And we have to nip it in kindergarten. If I had to hazard a guess, observant of those behaviors, how to correct them, bring the parents in and speak to them when you see it. And, by the time these kids leave the education system, they should have a much better acceptance of diversity across the board. Unfortunately, in that particular instance, I did not bring it to the school. I should have brought it to the school. Young single mom, harried and harassed. But there was one other incident. He went to the park with a couple of friends. he being the youngest, and it was the first time that I let him ride to the park with the kids, which was so funny. And these couple of boys, I guess, that are also from the neighborhood, one kind of pushed him off his bike, took his bike. Now I see all the kids come running down the street. I'm like, what on earth is going on? The kids are all screaming, Auntie Nicole, oh my God, so and so and so. I called the cops. I don't give a damn. I went straight down to the corner. The other parents came out because their kids were also up in, I called the cops. The cops came, took a report. They said to me, unfortunately, these two young boys, it's not been the first time. The mother passed away. The dad's been having a lot of problems with them. It's been reported before. And I said, my heart goes out to them, and it goes out to the father as well. But I am glad that I filed a report, because I could see a lot of children not wanting to speak up, being afraid, like you said, in peer pressure among their friends, like, oh, you're a wimp. They're just joking with you. Why would you go talk about that? Like, why would you go tell your mom? Like, you're such a SISSY. Wait, Dylan, I'm sure you can spell. Why am I spelling that out?
Because that's who you are, and we love you for who you are.
But, it's the children being okay amongst their peers to speak up, being okay with their parents to speak up, and the parents being smart about how to handle it. Because, the parents can't go outside and tap up the kids. You're going to make your kid really look like, so you got to find a way to handle it. And I'm not even saying I know what that way is. But there's just it's so much that goes into it. And the thing is, it starts way before we get to this point.
Absolutely. Nancy's been she's just bursting at the seams because and I seen her just fire up as soon as you hit on several topics. And Nancy, by all means, take the floor and carry on from where Nicole was, because you're seeing the same things I am, and I know that Brian is too.
I'm hopping out of my seat over here. I was taking notes at this point. I was lucky enough to not experience bullying in school because I was very much a chameleon. I could sort of move in and out of any group seamlessly. And I was never a threat, and I was very mild. There was nothing, what can you pick on me, if, kind of thing. Not that bullies don't find something, but I was really lucky. And Crystal, I think, put in there, it's like saying that boys push girls down or pull their pigtails on the playground. Boys will be boys because they like a girl. Let's stop telling them that. Let's stop excusing that behavior. I remember once on the bus coming home, there was a kid that was making fun of me and got out at the bus stop, and he was getting off the bus before me. He didn't make the bottom step because I shoved him off the bus into the snow. Not my finest moment yet. Keith Steinberg, forgive me, I'm sure you're a perfectly lovely human these days, never bothered me again. And part of why it worked was because Keith went home crying. And so he and his mom walked the 3 houses up to our house, and his mother, rather than saying, you need to apologize, came to my mom and said, do you know what your daughter did? Right? And backing up to let her know that he had been bothering me. Her boy was perfect. She couldn't see it. I had wronged her child. And why it worked is my mother stood there and said, backing me up, right? She stood there, door open, and said, Mrs. Steinberg, I wouldn't advise her to do anything differently. There's gotta be, violence isn't the answer, but as Nick was saying, this starts day one. It's a family culture, and we bring our family cultures into the world. So when I see kids at school who are solving things with physical fights and violence and that kind of thing, my brain goes to, well, how do you think things are solved at home? What skills have they learned? They're using what they know. And so, yes, from an early age, we need to get in there and help them learn skills, have the tools to recognize and know what to do with their feelings. Being able to talk about what's on their mind and something that's bothering them. Creating a culture around them that says, wow, that's really big. Sit down and tell me about that. right? And encourages them. Now, we can't do parentectomies, so what's happening at home is going to happen at home. But also, if that police officer would have went to the neighbor's house and talked to the dad about what was going on, rather than making excuses for him, those were reasons, but they're also excuses. And if you would have gone to the home and said, hey, sir, I know you're having a rough time. I know your family's been through a lot. It's really impacting your boys. Here are some resources. Here are some, like, come on, just excusing these things away. We all have something. We all have something. Can you imagine if we walked around in the world, every single one of us, taking our shit out on the next person comes across our path? It's unacceptable. It's not okay for us as a society, as a culture, to excuse it. And in doing so, telling our children, not just our children, everyone, that suck it up. This is just the way life is. And, overall, it's not that bad of a thing. Really? Someone telling you to put a gun to your head, telling you you should kill yourself, that nobody cares. I had a student where a whole group of kids plotted to get her to like a certain boy. And she was on the spectrum. So her ability she didn't have a lot of friends, and her ability to discern between what was someone really being a friend and just wanting to do something to have a friend. But they convinced her to send naked pictures of herself to him so that they could distribute it. And sadly, at school, we can't even confiscate their phones. We have to ask parents first. We can't take their backpacks. We can't open and look at their backpack unless we have permission. The pendulum is swung so far to the other side that we're letting children make decisions. We're giving children all the power, and they should have autonomy to some extent. That's an important thing. It helps us grow and learn and become the people we are. But at the same time, we know their brains aren't even close to fully developed.
Now, when it comes to certain things, Nancy, there's no way. There's a reason they're children, and there's a reason we're adults. And there are certain things we have to draw the line on. We have to say, no, we know that this is for your own good, and there's certain things we just have no choice to. It's not just about protecting, because when you think about the bullies and you think that at home, what they're learning, now you have to think as well about what about the children at home that are not being shown love, not being taught to believe in themselves, not being taught to stand up for yourself in a way that's not violent, because another child might have said, me take naked pictures of myself. What are you, nuts?
Mm-hmm.
No way. My parents would never accept that. I would never do that. So it's like
culture. Nicole, like in schools right now, Nick, sorry, go with your full name.
We're family, we're good.
In schools right now, when I was in school, if my mom got called into school, I would have been terrified. Mm-hmm. I would have been like hands over my ass cheeks because I knew what was coming. But nowadays we call parents and they want to know what the teacher did. They're not our partners in raising their kids. They're against us, like literally against us. So it's so systemic through so many systems that
sister complains about that too as a teacher. Yeah. And she teaches elementary school and she complains about it.
Yeah.
About that exact same thing.
I've had parents get into fights outside of school over their kids being in fights.
Exactly.
Like,
and if you know Christine Lynn Jones, Kristen Lynn Norai, they are actually working on that right now about bridging the gap between parents at school and home. Because what's happening is, like you say, the parents and the schools are like on opposite ends and the kids are just in the middle. And it's like, for me, okay, Aaron, you mentioned culturally, right? Culturally, growing up, I got a good whooping. Trust me, I went to school the next day. I couldn't sit. We had wooden benches. Or I went to school the next day and I had a pretty little dad handprint on my face because I was cursing or something. The point is, I grew up in a time and in a third world country where if you were rude to your parent, they picked the closest thing that they could find. And trust me, it was flying across the room at you. So We talk about, oh my God, that's abusive. And now kids at 5 are telling their parents, if you come any nearer, I'm going to call the police.
I'm going to
And
tell
we
someone that
say
you're,
it's okay to do that. So now children have zero respect for their parents. They have zero respect for consequences and accountability for their actions. I'm not saying that that is the way to be punished, but you have to be able to punish your child, whether it's ground them or otherwise, without them threatening you, the parent, that they're going to call the cops on you.
Well, and as a parent, you need to know that if I'm not doing anything wrong, let them call the cops. I've unfortunately been involved with DCFS more times than I would like to. And if there's nothing going on, there's nothing going on. I was told actually once that I saw a parent slap a child, and DCFS said, well, keep an eye on it, but it's culturally, it's different, right? It's different for certain cultures. Not that it makes it right. Not that it makes it right. And for me, like right now, I have a student who, instead of being known as the stupid kid, rather be known as the bully. And unfortunately, his parents don't have the capacity or the capability to handle this. They don't have the experience, the cognitive ability, the understanding of all of it. And so as a school, that's where we get to step in. Our parent is not undermining what we're doing, but it's hard. For me, if we could stop worrying about if we could stop worrying about fucking grades and praising kids for getting an A and focus on creating good humans and congratulate them for being kind, compassionate, loving, curious instead of judgmental, what are we doing? We're so worried about the test scores and the grades. And this is in preschool.
That's exactly what the girls are talking about. They're kindergarten teachers, and they're saying that the academics being driven so much, social emotional learning is out the window. Okay, so you're growing up with these brilliant minds that could produce these amazing jobs, but they are so socially inadequate, it's not funny. So, children have lost their chance to be children. Like, what are we doing?
We used to play dress up and dramatic play and nap in kindergarten. Like now I get referrals for kids for special education in kindergarten because they're not reading. I didn't read till first grade. I wasn't expected to read till first grade. So
you expected to play. That was your job back then.
Right. I mean, we're putting this pressure on children to fix the mistakes of adults.
Let's ask Dylan. Dylan, do you feel in school that, how old are you, Dylan? Sorry.
12. Turning 13 soon.
So what's been your experience like, Aaron and Dylan, in school? I mean, is your backpack 3 times your size, like it is that I see most kids doing in school? The backpack 3 times their size? Do you have 4 hours of homework every night? Do you,
Do you use your locker?
Yeah, I use my locker. It's like stuffed.
Yeah, otherwise you'd be carrying it on your back. One of the things that I do say to my students when I was in elementary and now in middle school, they'll talk to me about something that happened. And I'll say, okay, if I told you the sky is purple, would you believe it? They're like, no, the sky is blue. I'm like, okay, the sky is blue. But I'm going to tell you it's purple. You're wrong. You're wrong. The sky is purple. You're stupid. You don't know? Well, what happens in bullying is the exact same thing. And teaching kids that what someone else says doesn't make it true. And adding what Nick said about we've got to love children unconditionally. We've got to let them know their worth and their value. I think of all the things, probably all of us, our generation had to unlearn. If we're starting by parenting the way you are, Aaron, where Dylan knows that he's loved unconditionally. He knows he can safely come to you. He knows, right? All of those things. It's so important. The sky is not purple. You can tell me a million times it's purple, but I know it's not purple. So you can tell me I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm ugly, my parents are poor, whatever it is. I know it's not true. And things like that change over time. I tell kids this also. Things like that change over time. So if it's not permanent, it can't be true. If it could change, it can't be true. Who you are on the inside, your values, your core, that's something constant. But all that other stuff comes and goes. And I said in the comments, bullies pick on others to take the focus off themselves, like this kid who's not doing well in school. And, the kids, the bullies are just as insecure as everyone else. And we're failing them too. We're failing them as well. Because
she came back.
She did. We're not providing what they need to learn to be better humans, to be more comfortable in their own skin, to deal with their feelings and emotions and problem solving. And I've been talking a really long time, so I should probably give someone else a chance.
It's all
I'm
good.
obviously very passionate about
this is the way that we need to have these panels, and this is, I feel, a great strong example of how we all need to, in the words of my brother, collaborate and work together to achieve higher goals. And again, giving this exposure and experience, and taking a quick moment before I ask Brian his last kind of question, and then I've got a little surprise for everybody tonight, because again, we've been tackling some very tough stuff, and that I take us down that rabbit hole, and I'm happy to hold everybody's hand as we're going through, and then bring you back out again with a little bit of smile and positivity. So I actually have two special things tonight. But before we kind of wrap and get our final thoughts from everybody and share the surprises, Brian, out of the things that Nancy's talking about, best defense is a good offense. We've talked about communication. A good culture, but I mean, we're only at school part of the day. If we've got a bad culture at home that's not supporting what we're trying to teach the kids at school, how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, look, my kids are 23 and 21 now. One's out of college, the other one's a junior in college. And I remember, we tried to keep a phone out of their hands as long as possible. Really, it was as long as we could. The challenge is the real things that happen in the world, and security and safety. And, it's not that these things didn't exist when we were kids. They did, but, everything's at a heightened level. And I think, there's so many things running through my head. I mean, everything Nancy Deborah said, spot on. Everything Nick said, spot on. Everything Crystal has said, spot on. Everything Dylan has said, spot on. Aaron, spot on. I think something that was said, which is so important, is it starts at home. And, everybody, there's no excuses, but everybody's environment is different. Bullying is real. It's painful. Communication is important. Dylan, I love that you have the communication that you do with your dad. I love that you feel like you can talk to him about these things. That's such an important thing. And it's such a special thing. It is not something that is, it's like, cherish that. But yes, good humans, like, we need more of that. And that starts at home. I always told my kids, there is nothing that we can't talk about. Don't ever feel like you're going to get in trouble because you come talk to me about something. I remember having those conversations, and I remember going, come on, you know better than that. But that was after I said, hey, let's have this conversation. Let's talk about it. I made my smirk. I'm not going to judge you for that. You're human. We make mistakes. Shit happens, and it's okay. It's learning from that, but it's most importantly knowing that you can have these conversations at home. And here's what it is. Real talk, parents have a lot of stress. They got to worry about the mortgage. They got to worry about this, that, and the other. There's so many things that are happening, right? And sometimes it's hard to control all of that and bring good humans into the world. It's real. It is not easy being a parent, people. Any parent. It's hard. It's fucking hard. But it's the most important job that we have in this world. To bring good humans into the world. To be aware of your surroundings. To know it's okay and encourage them to speak up. To talk, to feel. You know, I remember coming home as a kid, and I walked into my mom's room and I said, "Why does everybody keep making fun of me and telling me how weird I am and different and just, you know, like it happens so often. It sucked, you know? And even in my case, even much so that even my friends, it was tongue in cheek, you know, because they just couldn't resist the urge to, you know, do what I was doing, which was funny to them, you know? I digress, but my point is that it does start at home. Like the most important part is at home. And no matter how stressed, how, yeah.
Appreciate you, Jody.
Thank you for sharing, Jody.
Thank you for sharing, Jody and Ollie, too. And I'm Jody. You're telling my story, so I know you're telling someone else's. And Ollie, believe it or not, you're telling my story, so I know that you're also telling someone else's.
Yeah. The reality is, you know, look, parents, and this again, there's no excuses, but you do best can with what you got. Every environment is different. But you, whether your purpose was to bring children into the world or not, because accidents happen, they're there, you know, forever. Like, teach them that it's okay to have these conversations. Teach them that it's okay to stand up for themselves. You know, I didn't do a lot of that.
Teach them safe space to be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that it's okay to cry, boys. Men, you know, that it's okay to share and communicate that and express your anger and your fear and your angst and your all those things, you know, all the things that are going through you. But again, yeah, I think yeah, right. Yes, we are all different. I was trying to find this. I have this image. It's weird, and it's an acronym. And it's basically that you're incredible and you're wonderful and you're brilliant and all the things. And you know, it's not for kids. Hey kids, it's not easy being kids. Come on, Dylan, you know, right? It's not easy. You walk through the halls, you gotta deal with the crowds and the cliques and the things, and it's like, although, you know, there's always a side of you in there that's like, I don't want to have to deal with any of this.
You just want to blend in so you don't have to.
And by the way, that's all I ever wanted to do was blend in. I didn't want to stand out because I was weird and different, flaring around all over the place uncontrollably and making noises and twitching and ticking. And Nancy Deborah has something to say.
No, I just want to let Nora know that it's Brian Schulman speaking right now.
Oh.
So when we switch, let's, because I know I keep trying to put the comments up because I want people to see them, but it means we're not seeing everyone's name. So when we're speaking, maybe as we start, just say your name again.
Yes. Say my name. Oh,
Say
Brian.
Say my name.
My name. Oh, yeah. So again, there's so many dynamics at bay here, you know. I think in the end is just giving humans grace as a whole on both sides of the equation. Okay. Somebody said something earlier that was really important, profound. And it was regards to the fact that, bullies are the ones that are hurting the most. And it usually is because what's happening at home. And they are acting out what is happening and the rage that is inside of them. And they are taking it out because they don't know any other way. It's what they see. It's what they learn. It's what they know. It's what they feel. It's what they do. And, the fastest ways to get bullies to stop is to make them stop. Because when you stand up to bullies and they realize that they aren't getting to you anymore, they move on to someone else that they can get to. Now, again, there's no good, right, bad, or indifferent here. It's just, again, I think the most important thing here is realizing that it happens and it's real and it affects everyone. And I think it's just as important, if we're talking about support groups as an example, there needs to be a bully support group too.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're working on how can we help those that are getting bullied, well, the root of the problem is the bullies. So we need to be able to work as a whole together on helping both sides. You hit the root of the problem. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's hard. It's hard because of all of that shit that's going on inside that bully, that they're a Hulk inside waiting to break out. And every time they do, and they don't know any different, right? They don't know who Bruce Banner is. All they know is they're the Hulk every single time. And that's how they live life. And they're terrified inside,
I know for me, when I was in 8th grade, which is here where I grew up in New York.
Who's speaking right now, please?
Excuse me? Oh, it's Nancy Barrows. Nancy Deborah Barrows.
Yes. Okay.
Hi, it's Nancy Deborah Barrows, Radiating Real. Nice to speak to you. But thank you for reminding me in all seriousness. It was 8th grade, and there was a girl that I grew up with named Tara McKay. And she and I were friends because we lived down the block from one another. And so in those days, you could actually just walk to your friend's house, and it didn't matter that everybody was at work and I couldn't get a ride. And in 8th grade, the girls definitely started to decide there was a group that was better than everyone else. And like I said, I was a chameleon, so I could chameleon in and out of every group. But these were girls that I was friends with all through elementary and middle school. And one day they just decided they weren't going to save a seat for Tara. They saved a seat for me, but they weren't going to save one for Tara. And so when we talk about standing up to bullies, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And what I did was went to a different table altogether with Tara, did not sit at that table with my friends, quote unquote, for the remainder of that year. And chameleoned into, I found all these other nice kids that I hadn't talked to before, but there was no way I was going to sit at that table without her. And showing people what I was willing to sacrifice, in middle school, being part of the popular kid group is big, but it didn't matter to me as much as the fact that someone was being excluded. So, just reminding people there are a lot of ways to stand up. There are a lot of ways to use our words and our actions to make changes.
I want to jump on that real quick because you just said something that's really important, and it's a way to make sure everyone is. I'm Brian, by the way, that everyone is included. I was always excluded. I was the last kid picked on the team. I was the kid getting picked on all the time. And I didn't want other people. My clock is broken. Yes. I didn't want other people to feel that way. This is why we started these shows. We want to give people a space where they can be, where they can feel, whatever they want to feel. Like, you talk about cyberbullying, right? Live streaming is such a powerful and incredible way to bring people together. We are doing it right now with people all over the world that are with us, having this conversation. The beauty of technology, right? There is power. There is immense power in both ways. And the more of us that bring people together, I always say incredible things happen when we come together, right? The more we bring people together. I always thought that the people we would bring together, you know, we were Revenge of the Nerds. We were Lambda for all you 80s kids. You know, we were the mutts, the mix of everyone, the ones that were, you know, dealt with everything.
The ones that were rejected from everywhere else.
Amen.
I want to be Booger.
I love those movies. Thank you so much.
Oh, Nick put on to say it's Brian Shulman speaking, and now we're all joining in. So it just
yes,
yeah,
it's
and
Blah speaking. But yes, you know, I didn't understand people. I didn't understand how people could treat people the way I was treated. And it stuck with me for a really long time. That's right. Nerds are the cool kids now. You know, I didn't get it. And then I found a love for people again. And I wanted to bring people together. And I wanted everyone to feel like they mattered when they walked away, that they felt better, stronger, bigger hearted, loved more. You know, welcome to my therapy session. You know, I think, and the more of us that can do that, yes, Crystal, the more of us that can do that, you know, because the shitty part is that, like, those roots of us from childhood, like, those things are still in there, you know, and we have a way to be able to give people that space that we need together
and work towards it.
That's right.
I'm curious, and I was trying so hard to put it into the comments, but LinkedIn is fighting me. Dylan, so rather than all the adults come up with solutions and ways that this would, you know, should be solved, you're on the ground, you're experiencing it, you're in the trenches, as they say. Like, what are your thoughts on how we fix this problem? What are your thoughts on how we move forward and make sure that everyone is taken care of?
By the way, you are so my sister. That was
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Nancy, because I was wanting to ask the same thing. You spoke for all of us on
we're
that.
all smart. We all have ideas. We're all doing great. But you know what? You know who knows this right now the best, and who we need to be asking and talking to are kids.
Yeah. So what do you feel?
How to fix cyberbullying?
Yeah. Or what might help?
What might help?
All right, Dylan Gibson.
You're better than the rest.
A way to fix it. A way to fix it is just try to find out what's their problem and like try to support. Cause one of my cyberbullies they had a problem, and I actually turned out to be pretty good friends with them.
You worked it out.
Yeah.
So empathy and curiosity.
Mercy.
Dylan, you're one of the, well, you know, listen, I'm sure there were other things that were snottier, uglier, and unsexier, but, you know, ultimately it was your heart and your willingness to be open rather than angry, it sounds like. It really, like that, and from the mouths of kids, like, truly, do you need a bio break?
He needs a full force pee break. That's right.
Go.
Okay, go.
That was me like 2 minutes ago, so I totally get it. I need to know.
We've gone over a little bit tonight, but again, it's about the importance of, you know, giving voices to the voiceless and those silently struggling. And this next little segment I just wanted to share because it ties into what Brian Schulman was talking about earlier, and honestly what all of you have been saying this evening. And before he gets back, it was it comes down to a moment of bravery in a child.
Yeah.
And total fear of the repercussions of what they're going to say is going to come back and haunt them. And the story that I'm going to share with you before he just gets back, just so he's kind of left in the dark on this and all of a sudden wonders what we're talking about. The importance of this communication is just that. Dylan was actually a young soul that helped to save another soul last year. There was somebody within his school that was actually carrying a knife in their bag. And had it not been for him to take a moment to be vulnerable and honest, there would have been one less life in this world, because this young lad was in a tremendous amount of suffering and was being bullied by somebody on his way home. And had Dylan not mentioned it, that situation could have gone south. And I received a call, and this is why I made him the honorary special speaker, panel speaker for this evening, is because Dylan has taken that chance. And it's something that I just want to encourage and inspire to all of us out there, is to take that moment, be more vulnerable, be brave with those that make you feel seen, heard, loved, and valued. Hashtag Nancy Deborah Barrows. And by the way, I'm Aaron Gibson. And all of the souls that have come into our world to
do it again.
I recognize that shirt. It's about time too. So that what we were just talking about is the last year when when that young lad had a knife, and that young lad was actually, rather than facing repercussions, not only did he save the other kid's life, both of them were given proper counseling to actually work through that scenario. And
did you talk about the kid who choked me to the ground?
No, I was talking about the young lad that basically had the knife in his backpack.
Oh yeah, that kitchen.
Yeah. So again, we've got scary scenarios out there, and I wanted to take a moment to reflect upon my son and honor my son for being brave with me on that time, and as well in front of two law enforcement officers when he divulged this story, and all three of us, literally our jaws hit the floor. And of course, Dylan was a little bit in panic, and that's when I grabbed his hand and was like, "No, you just did something amazing, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm celebrating you always for being the person that you are, and communicating with me the way that you do, and having a beautiful family to surround us that we can reach out to and be vulnerable with." And the only saving grace now, and again, it was only as of December of last year, and now for anybody out there, it's not only mental adversity. If you are suffering with cyberbullying, you now have an opportunity. If you don't want to see the person that you're talking to, please call in Canada and the US 988. All right. You are worth it. Your soul is worth it. And again, the age range doesn't matter. What needs to happen is we need to start educating. We need to start spreading awareness. We need to start embracing one another more. And again, getting this in at a young age. Wow. Thank you all tonight. Sorry, go ahead, Nancy.
I want to acknowledge that Noor put in that her daughter has been bullied for the last 3 years. She was wondering how to connect with Dylan, and how we can amplify her. She wished her daughter was here tonight. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to amplify that with you, Noor. So reach out, because it's important that as adults we create the space.
Absolutely. And we're going to start working towards that. It all starts with ourselves individually, though, and committing that extra little bit of patience, that extra little bit of time, and that little extra bit of heart that all of us have. All right, kids, we've really taken it to bat tonight, and I thank you all. I know. So what we're going to do first, we're going to wind down with, of course, this year's mantra, and that is, when in doubt, dance it out. And Dylan and I do this all the time, and we are all about to groove to the first video second video that I have created. So those of you at home, again, you are by yourself in your safe space. I do it myself, and I am absolutely 100% nerd all the way. Nerd all the way. All right. And dancing can help. You don't have to be an awesome dancer. You just have to exercise those demons, yo.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a groove on. And then Crystal, I've got a little something special for you. So you just stick around and we're gonna give you a little surprise at the end here. Ready, groove. Long live the nerds. All right. We grooved it out, got it out of our systems.
I'm going to apologize, but I had a 6:30 dinner plan. We had a 6:30 dinner plan, and we were supposed to bring salad, which we have not made. I do know what's coming next. I'm not going to breathe a word of it, but I know it. And I'm excited, and I know, but I saw that little I got. But enjoy it all, and I can tell you're gonna love it.
Thank you, and thank you for joining the panel. It was really important. Love you, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Love you, Nancy. Love you, Brian. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you for
We'll catch you
including me
soon.
with the warmth.
Love you, Dylan.
Have this evening.
Rock,
Have
buddy.
fun with your dinner plans, honey.
Thank you.
Have fun, guys.
Oh, I love them. So yes, we're wrapping up the evening. However, I just wanted to give you, Crystal, a little special thank you. I know that things have not been easy for you, and I know the adversities that you've been through. And I remember you reaching out last year